Hey guys, are you here to check this crib out? Start over. Hey guys, I was expecting you.
Many eyes are on the NBA right now for all sorts of reasons, not the least of which is the arrival of the NBA playoffs, of which the play-in games are going on right now. And many are looking to see which current legends and future legends are going to step up to push their teams to glory. There have been many people who have been called legendary, but there is one man who has always been underrated over the years, despite the rings he has on his fingers. That man is Scottie Pippen, and even now, he's still underappreciated. Allow us to show you Scottie Pippen, then and now. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The early life of Scottie Pippen. You might think that given Pippen's talent and eventual fame in the NBA, that he was someone who had a blessed life from start to finish. But rarely is life that simple. Mainly because Scottie himself came from a rather poor family in Arkansas. One of the reasons for their financial situation was that Scottie had a lot of siblings. 11, in fact. They were a large family in an area that didn't exactly have a lot of big jobs. So his father worked at a paper mill in order to try and feed everyone in the family. The other main problem with his early childhood was that of how one of his siblings got paralyzed after someone fell on him, and then his father went and suffered a stroke that made him unable to fully move or speak. As he noted in the documentary, The Last Dance, one of the main reasons that he went to do sports was because it got him out of the house and allowed him to focus on things other than his family situation. Basketball start. Pippen attended Hamburg High School. Playing point guard, he led his team to the state playoffs and earned all-conference honors as a senior, but was not offered any college scholarships, which of course is infinitely ironic now, but back then, they didn't know exactly what he was going to be. One of the key reasons for that was back then, many colleges, and especially the NBA, felt that the only good players were the ones who had not only skill, but height. At the time he graduated from high school, Pippen was 6'1", which is taller than the average human, but wasn't basketball tall. At least, not until he got to college. He went to the University of Central Arkansas, not exactly the biggest name in sports, but he got to play there because the coach noticed him in high school and felt he had to have him on the team. But his height again played a fact, as he was only 6'1" when he started there, but then he exploded in one summer and suddenly he was 6'8". As a senior, his per-game averages of 23.6 points, 10 rebounds, 4.3 assists, and nearly 60% field goal shooting earned him consensus NAIA All-American honors in 1987, and made him a dominant player in the Arkansas Intercollegiate Conference, drawing the attention of NBA scouts. He was going to go to the NBA. The only question was to whom? The NBA draft. Before we talk about the 1987 draft, we need to set up the team he would play for. You see, for a few years now, Michael Jordan had been in the NBA, and was bringing to it a new level of excitement, intensity, and popularity. The problem, though, was that while he was a once-in-a-lifetime player, he couldn't do it all on his own, something a certain other player in today's NBA knows all about. The general manager of the Bulls at the time, Jerry Krause, knew that the Bulls had to go and get a big supporting cast for Jordan to facilitate things to the point where they could honestly win not just games, but playoff games. Krause was the one who felt that Scottie Pippen was the person they needed to help Michael. So, during the 1987 draft, the Bulls traded with the then Seattle Supersonics for them to get Scottie. The Bulls would get a player they wanted, and then they'd trade them. By his own admission, Scottie was pumped to play with Michael, but he also initially felt he was better than MJ and wanted to be the top guy on the team. The rest of the Bulls didn't like that at first, and helped bring him down a peg. Early years in the NBA. At first, as was typical of rookies like Pippen, he started his rookie season on the bench as he started to work his way up the ranks. But between the coaches he had and Michael Jordan guiding him along, he became an invaluable part of the Chicago Bulls lineup and became the Robin to Jordan's Batman, a moniker that would be accurate, but also haunt Pippen throughout his career. Despite that, he was slowly growing into one of the best players around in the NBA, including getting his first NBA All-Star honor in 1990 and getting a whole lot more after that. He was one of the best shooters in the NBA, one of the best defenders in the NBA, was in the top 3 of steals in the NBA, and so on. He was getting the Bulls to a level where they needed to be, and sure enough, they broke through. The Three-Peat Part 1. As time went on, and now under the guiding presence of legendary coach Phil Jackson, the Bulls, with Jordan and Pippen as their guiding stars, went and dominated the NBA. In 1991, 1992, and 1993, they etched out incredible season after season after season. They went to the NBA Finals all 3 times, and won all 3 times in definitive fashion. Naturally, Michael Jordan got a lot of the credit, but Scottie Pippen was there too, and had a big hand in helping them, which led him to an honor that no one can take away: the Dream Team. When the Olympics came around in 1992, the US Olympic Committee felt they needed to win the basketball medal this go-around after struggling in the past Olympics. So they called on the NBA and asked the best of the best to come and play. Thus, the Dream Team was born. And of course, Michael Jordan was on it. But so was Scottie Pippen. This team was so deep and complete that despite it being a one-off for the Olympics, many consider it the greatest team ever compiled, and Scottie absolutely rocked in those games. Without Jordan. After the Olympics and the first three-peat, Michael Jordan retired to go and play baseball. When that happened, it was up to Scottie Pippen to go and lead the Bulls to victory. And he did just that. Some even consider the 1993-94 his best season ever. That year, he earned All-Star Game MVP honors and led the Bulls in scoring, assists, and blocks, and was second in the NBA in steals per game, averaging 22 points, 8.7 rebounds, 5.6 assists, and 2.9 steals. He was even third in the seasonal MVP voting. They never got the finals with Pippen alone, but they did get to the Eastern Conference semifinals that first year without Jordan, proving Scottie could get it done as leader. The Three-Peat Part 2. Eventually, Jordan came back, and with MJ back in tow, the Bulls went right back to work and had not only the greatest season ever, but went on to win 3 more titles in 3 consecutive finals. It wasn't easy, and contract negotiations in the final year of that second three-peat, with Pippen and his feud with Jerry Krause almost derailing everything, but they still got it done, and the Bulls had 6 rings with Jordan and Pippen. Pippen's legacy. After the final three-peat, the Bulls, due to Krause's influence and mandate, entered a rebuild, and for the next several years, Scottie went from team to team just to play ball and prove he was just as good without Jordan as he was with him. He never had that same level of play though as he had with those Bulls teams. He would eventually get put into the NBA Hall of Fame, and now works as a sports analyst for ESPN via their NBA show, The Jump. In terms of his true legacy though, that is where things get a bit complicated. Because in truth, he's one of the greatest of all time. His stats back that up. And while people will say he only won rings because of Michael Jordan, Jordan will be the first to admit that he never won a ring without Scottie Pippen, which was proven both before Pippen arrived with the Bulls and when Jordan returned to the NBA to play for the Wizards. People only see him as Jordan's number 2. And that's honestly sad because he's much more than that. He's one of the best ever. Period. End of story. And though his life has not been easy and he hasn't always made the right decisions, look up the story about the private jet he bought, his skill on the court was undeniable. And that is how we should remember Scottie Pippen. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the career of Scottie Pippen and how he is much more than people choose to remember him as? Do you feel that Scottie Pippen is one of the greatest ever, even if others don't say so? Do you wish he was able to go and do certain things with other teams to prove his greatness beyond Michael Jordan? How do you think he'll be remembered when the true history of the NBA is written? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.